entity, powerful as he appears to be, claims that he has been resisted by the Prince of Persia, and that this has delayed him in reaching Daniel. In Daniel 10:13, he states that the Prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me for 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. While the nature of Michael's help is not detailed beyond this, we can gather that the entity in question is reinforced by Michael, thus on the side of God. The fact that Michael came to help this entity shows us perhaps the basis of which his reputation as a protector stems from. Michael's involvement at all also serves to show Daniel that the entity which has approached him is on God's side, for Michael works only with God's divine intentions in mind. Some have speculated that this entity is actually Archangel Gabriel, another of the suspected archangels in religious scripture, most notably Judaism. But many dispute this idea, as this figure is never addressed as Gabriel in this chapter. Previously, Daniel hears Gabriel's voice in chapter 8 verse 16, when Daniel is having a vision. He states, "And I heard a man's voice from the Uli calling, 'Gabriel, tell this man the meaning of the vision.' In the next verse, Gabriel speaks and says, 'Son of man,' he said to me, 'understand that the vision concerns the time of the end.'" Furthermore, Gabriel actually appears before Daniel in chapter 9 verse 21, where Daniel explains, "Gabriel, the man I had seen in the earlier vision, came to me in swift flight about the time of the evening sacrifice." So if the entity speaking of Michael was actually Gabriel, then Daniel should have recognized him, instead of being overcome by the sheer awe of him, where he is noted as trembling on his hands and knees. Unless, of course, as some have suggested, Gabriel has only shown himself to Daniel in a lesser form, and when he appears to him again in chapter 10, he comes as his true self, hence why Daniel only chooses now to describe the entity's appearance. All in all though, the reference of Gabriel as man in the title of the chapter called Daniel's Vision of a Man seems to indicate that this is not Gabriel, and while obviously otherworldly, is merely a messenger bringing word of Michael. By the end of their encounter in 10:20 through 21, the entity further confirms his allegiance with Michael by saying, "Do you know why I have come to you? Soon I will return to fight against the Prince of Persia. When I go, the Prince of Greece will come. But first I will tell you what is written in the Book of Truth. No one supports me against it, except Michael, or Prince." By calling Michael Daniel's Prince, it highlights his importance and gives us something of an inkling that Michael harnesses some sort of higher power, and that he should be respected and revered by Daniel, and therefore Daniel's people. However, beyond this, we can't do much more than speculate. The prophecy is finally concluded in chapter 12, and Michael is brought up one last time, his final mention in the entirety of the Old Testament, where the entity explains, "Michael, the great prince who protects your people, will arise. There will be a time of distress, such as has not happened from the beginning of nations until then. But at that time, your people..."
Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl through the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
repository of information. Or state the name of your library. 2 days ago, Phone sent a message to the citizens match on the inscriptions on the meeting place. I'm positive that one of them, before racism realizes the worst race they has or can make, the aliens that belong to this island, they're out.
small-scale dust storm, it's still very, very impressive. And yet, there's so little that we know about them. Are they dangerous?
High, and in fact the dust can get charged, and in the case of these really tall dust storms, like dust storms, Marsh, can be absolutely enormous. Dust storms, Marsh, can be absolutely